What's going on, digital world? Welcome to another episode of the WebBuzz podcast. I'm Shawn Tiberio, joined by always Mr. Roger Valdez, the Google Nader. How's your day going so far?
It's good, man. That's actually my favorite one yet, man. Kind of reminds me of that movie from when I graduated high school. Was it American Pie, the Shermanator? Remember that one?
Shermanator, yes. Yeah, you are the Google Nader, my friend.
Awesome.
Start
Doing
changing
good.
your display name on things to the Google Nader now.
Oh man, love it. But yeah, man, doing awesome over here. We have the chickens going at all, full caliber right now.
I heard them
So
before we kicked off.
so if you guys hear some background noise, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's out here in Guam. They're running wild, so it's natural. So I'll apologize up front, but they're my buddies, so they're out there just hanging out.
If you are on live and you hear a chicken and you put the word chicken in the comment, I will personally reach out and give you something fun.
But you know what? I was we have a couple of our clients are out on the Hawaiian Islands, right? Different islands out there. We have a couple different clients on different islands, and when I'm on the call with them, they feel me when it comes to chickens, especially like Maui, Kauai. You have a ton of chickens running around just like we do here. So it's funny when I'm talking to them, there's chickens kind of going off. We actually understand each other. So with you in LA, obviously, sorry, man. There's no, I don't know how it works over there.
we're a concrete jungle here. There ain't no wild chickens running around. We do have down the street from Deanna and I, we do have some wild peacocks. Not really wild peacocks. They're actually people's pets that are just roaming these streets. And there are times where they get so loud over by the house. We're like, man, the peacocks are loud tonight.
Gotcha. That's more of a pet trend, huh? That's going on.
Yes.
Here we're talking about digital trends, but I guess there's other trends we can talk about later as well.
Absolutely. So if you're joining us live, don't hesitate to say hello in the comments. We love to see who is on and joining us live. We got a good one here today. I'm going to kick it over to my man Roger, the Mr. Googanator, to let us know what is in store. What are we going to be talking about today?
All right, man. So one of the most important things as a business, right? A local business or just a national business, whatever it might be, is always amplifying your brand, getting your brand out there, making sure that people know you exist. And all the basic stuff that you probably already know about for digital marketing or just the online space is having a website, right? Having a website is extremely important, obviously, to make sure people can find you. And then even further, there's different ways to optimize that website, whether it be keywords, whether it be location pages, service pages, just so people know you exist. And when they land on your website, they can consume that information to learn more about you and build those know, like, and pretty much trust you factors, so you can then start kind of building that relationship with that person. But the trend that we're going to talk about today is taking that step even further, right? There's other, we call them assets. When you start building stuff outside of your website, there's outside assets that then can benefit your website as well and your brand all over the internet as well. So that asset that I'm talking about, that we'll be talking about today, is your Google My Business profile. So if you haven't heard of what Google My Business profile, or a GMB for short, that's basically a profile that Google allows you to create, kind of like a directory, right? It's a directory within Google where you can go set up an account, and then you fill out kind of almost like a form, and it has all this information about your company. And that right there can actually rank on the search results on Google. And it is a Google product. So you definitely want to check that out and see if that's something that you have already set up. And then if you don't, I recommend that you do, right? But one of the things that Shawn and I really want to focus on today is for people that already know about the Google My Business or the GMB and are wondering how to optimize that even further. And we're going to focus even further on that to look at, is it worth it? Or is it good, or is there a method to repurpose content basically blog posts that live on your website that you took the time to kind of create, optimize, but is it worth it to take that content and also add it on your Google My Business to add more value to that profile? And then we'll get into more details on what that means and how to do that and if there's value in that. So I'll kind of stop there, Shawn, see if you have any questions before we kick off in some of the details.
Yeah, I mean, I love how you just said that when you start building assets, because a lot of what we're talking about today is, as you just said, taking a piece of content, maybe like a blog that I've spent some time writing, optimizing, doing a lot of research around, and I want to get the most juice out of the squeeze, so to say, with it. Is it worth bringing it over there? And when we talk that way, we're basically saying, is it worth doing some form of repurposing? So before we even go down the track of how do I do it, what is the right way, what's the strategy, why, should I, is it worth my time kind of piece, I just want to give our listeners a little background on what it really means to repurpose content. Because sometimes this, I think, even gets confused out there, right? We're going to use this example of the blog side of things. You've spent a lot of time. You've done some research. You've done, especially like on the keyword side, we've done past episodes on that. Go check those out. But you've done this research. You've got some keywords. You've sat down. You spent some time. You've written this really, really good article, this really, really good piece of content, blog that's going to go to your site. And then it goes up there. And sometimes we hear it's like, well, it's crickets. I put my heart and soul into that thing, and I didn't really get anything out of it. And yet in that blog article, you probably have a lot of really good information, or maybe some good imagery, or some good statistics, or these type of things. Your blogs are a phenomenal way to repurpose. And there's two ways that you can repurpose. One is kind of what we're going to get into here. Taking that content, using a piece of it on another platform to check a box, so to say. Maybe that platform is Google My Business, but maybe that platform is also social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, these type of things. There's probably, if you went and looked at some of your blogs, there's probably some really good, maybe one-liner statements or statistics, quotes, something like that you can pull out of it that would be really good on a Twitter campaign. Maybe there's a good infographic or good piece of imagery that really drives home the point of what you're talking about. It becomes a really good post over on your Instagram account. Again, we want to get the most juice out of the squeeze. That is one form of repurposing, taking a piece of the bigger asset, in this case, the full blog, taking an element of it and using it on another platform to try to gain traffic, try to gain eyeballs, to get somebody to say, man, I really like what Roger put in his post, that comment or that quote. And then Roger's also saying, well, you can read more about this over here. Go check out the whole blog. Go check out the whole article. Kind of manufacturing the traffic through the purpose of repurposing, right? The other side of repurposing, and this is where I think it gets confused. The other side of repurposing is you wrote this blog, but you wrote it 2 years ago. It's a really good blog, but guess what? It's 2 years old. So another form of repurposing is taking that blog and now giving it some life, updating some of the information inside of it. Maybe it's the statistics, maybe something changed in the space, maybe a process changed. Just updating some of the content inside of there to bring it up to speed for relevancy of today. And now we've taken a piece of content that we did a lot of good research on, breathed new life into it, and repurposed, in a sense, that piece of old content. So I just wanted to clear that up first before we shift this, because what you're going to get into is more kind of the first side that I'm talking about. However, they very easily could do this exact same approach from that second example, breathing life into some older ones, bringing them up to speed. Maybe you can even talk more from an SEO side. What does that do for it? And then how do I maybe use that in the GMB side of things to ping another box checks, get some eyeballs going over that side.
Absolutely, man. So that was actually a great explanation on some of the ideas of what you can do. And there's so much, right? So we'll try to kind of give you kind of a user friendly kind of steps here as far as like the trends of how people are treating this, how they're using them. But what I want to kind of start off here, in case someone's like, man, I want that, right? It's like, how do I get that? I don't have that. I've never heard of that. And believe it or not, there's more companies out there that don't have this and don't know this exists, and they don't realize how valuable it is when it comes to a GMB, right? GMB profile. So I just want to kind of let you guys know, if you don't have one, just go to google.com/business and you'll get to the sign up page. So I'm going to give you that. You'll go through the process of setting it up. What I would recommend there at the beginning stages is to make sure you put as much information as possible. Fill out as many fields as you can, because that's what we start calling optimizing your Google My Business profile. A lot of people, they'll skip through it. They don't fill out a lot, like their hours that they're open. Even if you're like, hey, I don't have my cell phone. It's like it's always open. Put some hours. There has to be some kind of parameters to make sure that everything is settled and it looks like a real company. And then obviously, how to optimize it even more before we get even into content is, that's a great place to get reviews as well. So those reviews help kind of boost that authority on that particular profile. But then once you have all that stuff done, all the basics, right? Now you have a GMB profile. Now you have all this, and now you're looking for more ways to compete and make sure that this profile actually shows up on search results, because it will. If you're a local business and you have an address on your Google My Business, and there's not a lot of competition and people aren't doing this, and you are, when people search for your local market for a certain keyword around your service or product, your GMB will show up. So one way, obviously, we're talking about content here. Let's get into how you can actually repurpose. Shawn did a great job already going through it. I'll probably reiterate a couple things, but I'll try to kind of add a little more value there if I can on the SEO portion. So let's go back to what Shawn said, doing a short summarized version of the blog post. Let's go back to an old blog post. Let's use Shawn's scenario, 2-year-old blog post, but it's great information. What do I do with this? I want to put this on my new Google My Business profile, or maybe I have an inactive Google My Business profile that I haven't put anything on there, but you want to put some stuff. Go to that popular blog post or that very informative, valuable blog post and create a summarized version. So some of the things that people watch out for, people like me, right, that know a lot about SEO and what Google's doing, and the penalties, right? You got to watch out that you do not do something that's going to penalize your brand or your website or your Google My Business. So when you get that content, you do not want to cut and paste directly. What I mean by that, if it's a 500-word blog post on your website, you don't want to copy and paste those 500 words into your post on your Google My Business profile as a post. What you want to do is do a summarized version. What do I mean by that? It's simple. Anything that you make changes to will start making them unique, because it's not the exact same content, which is not duplicate content. So what I would recommend, if you don't have a lot of time, a good way to do that is take out some paragraphs. Make it, once again, we're doing a summarized version, so you can take out that a couple of those paragraphs, make it a little shorter, make it a teaser, right? So a lot of these Google My Business posts are meant to be teasers. Give them some information, but make them feel like there's more, right? So you can kind of shorten it up, make it a teaser. Think about it, even if you're kind of looking at it as like, all right, I can't make it a teaser. It's more of a informative one that's telling about something that we're doing. Well, think about it like a press release, right? It exists on your website, but your Google My Business post, then you would present it almost like a press release. Hey, this is what we've been doing in our industry. This is what we're doing. We got a great piece of content over here. It's about this. And you can even go into a little bit of what that blog post is about. And then what I would do at the end of that content is what a lot of people forget, and it's probably the most important thing, because obviously we're doing this to drive more traffic to our website. So what you want to do is put a call to action on the bottom of that content. So don't forget that, whether it be putting your phone number, call us, or putting a link. And that link can either go to your homepage, it can go to a service page, a location page. That's really up to you where you want that to go. It doesn't always have to go to the actual blog post as well. It's a good idea to go to the blog post if that's how you're doing your content, right? Your summarized version. But maybe it's a general concept, maybe it's a general topic, and you're just using the blog post as inspiration to create this post on your Google My Business. Then it can go to anywhere, right? So you can kind of use that as a hook to be able to get them to other pages on your website. And then I'm going to finalize this with another piece that I don't know why, but people forget about this, is an attractive image that's related to this post. So an image, it can be very important. It speaks a lot, right, about this particular post and this content. So what I would recommend is that if you don't have unique images, meaning let's just kind of use a product, for example, you're talking about a product, maybe you have a product image. It's unique because you took it of that product. Or maybe a service. If you're talking about service, if you're a carpenter, you're a painter, go out there and have someone take a picture of you and use that image as your Google My Business post image for there. But I would go one step further. I would actually put your logo and your phone number on that image. You can use a lot of different platforms. I'll just say Photoshop because that's probably the most popular one, but there's a lot of different platforms out there that you can utilize to manipulate images. So that's what I would recommend to keep it nice and simple. Add your logo and add your phone number to that image, because those images will also have an opportunity to rank on Google Images. So it's another place where people can find you. So that is kind of the steps, Shawn, that I would recommend someone take at the simplest level on how to take blog posts from their website, optimize them, add them to their Google My Business.
I'm just a little sad. You told me I can't be lazy and just copy and paste. But on that note, should I use any of the images that I'm using in that blog article or on that piece of content that I'm going to do this with? Should I use any of those images as the image on the GMB post, or should I get a different image?
Different image. Do not use the same image. This is all about trying to get more lines in the water. Think about fishing, right? I try to always kind of see something that relates to people that's just natural. It's like, if you're using the same image, yes, you can use it. Is it going to affect it? I don't know, probably not. But what if you have another image, a unique image? That's just another line in the water. And that's what this is all about. Get as many lines in the water as you can to give more people an opportunity to find you.
Gotcha. Now, with this, what does this actually help me do from a GMB side? Because at the end of the day, is this really going to give me, I mean, let's get honest, I guess, for here a second here. Is it really going to get me a lot of traffic by posting these posts to GMB? Or is this just an element of it?
Both. So basically what I mean by both is there's a starting point. Nobody kind of starts right out of the gate and just, if nobody knows who you are and there's no content out there talking about you, or you're not creating awareness, right? You're not doing anything to create awareness, then why would someone trust you to do business with you? How are people even going to get to know you? How are you going to get them to even, turn their head and stare, right? To try to kind of get that, oh, you exist. So this is all about getting awareness to your brand. That's where it all starts. If you can get really good at creating awareness, then that's the byproduct of then going to the next stage of, trying to get someone to engage with you. But if they have nothing to look at, if you have bare bones on your website, bare bones on your Google My Business, and you're sitting there for a year and saying, this doesn't work, that's not the way it goes, man. But other scenario, you have a website and you're very active on putting content value, right? You're putting value, you're answering questions. All your blog posts are questions that you're answering in your industry. You got a lot of value, and someone lands on there and they read a blog post and it sounds like you know what you're talking about, and they continue to look at that. Now you're building a kind of something like an awareness. Oh man, this person knows what they're talking about. They just answered my question. They must be good at what they do, right? Same thing on the Google My Business. You start putting those things on your Google My Business. Sometimes people will actually find your Google My Business first. And if you have that content on there, you have an opportunity to take that person, make them aware of you, and possibly convert them or engage with them a little further, right? Because it's not all about kind of slamming them with sales right away. It's all about starting with the awareness stage, making sure that people know you exist and that you know what you're talking about in your industry.
Man, I don't know. Somebody's been paying attention on our Monday calls with our clients, it sounds like.
Taking notes, man. Taking notes.
Awesome. So, I mean, pretty cut and dry. It makes sense. I've put some work into producing this piece of content, like I started off with saying, I want to get the most out of the squeeze here. And I know GMB is it's not a guarantee that my GMD is going to show up, correct? I gotta.
That is correct. Like your website, there is no guarantees, right? But you have to start somewhere. It's what do I usually like to kind of put it? It's like a race. I mean, if you enter a race and you don't know where the finish line is, you might be in the wrong race, right? So first, it's all about knowing what the race is, where the finish line is, and then get yourself in the race by optimizing, creating these assets, making sure the content is heading in the right direction. Once you're there, then you're in the race. Now it's how much content you put out there, how much work you have to get out there, how much competition is in that space to see how much work you have to do. So the guarantees, throw that out the window. Don't even worry about it. Too many people sit there and they haven't even started, right? The awareness stage, and they're already worried about, does this work? It works. You just got to put some elbow grease into it. Got to get some work on it. You got to outwork your competition. This is what it's about. Outwork your competition.
So by doing this, because GMB isn't a guarantee to just show up just because I go and get the profile, and even if I verify my address and all that kind of stuff, it's not a guarantee that that's going to start to show up in rankings. But by doing this, what you're kind of saying is you're starting to feed the beast, right? You're giving it what it needs to be outworking that competition and get yourself closer to showing up.
Exactly. And the more of this that you do, the more attention you catch from Google as well. One thing people forget as well, that Google's a business. Google's in the business of providing information to people, right, that use their search engine. So think about it this way: if Google awards you, Shawn, you have a website, you didn't do anything, right? You just went out there and put a very bland website and then a very empty Google My Business, and they took your information as like, oh, Shawn, we're going to put you position 1 on the Google Maps, so your profile shows up, and then number 1 on the rankings for this particular subject. Guess what? I'm going to go there as a searcher. I'm going to ask the question. You're going to pop up number 1. I'm going to click on your website or your Google My Business. I'm going to get no value. Guess what? I'm going to go use Bing, because maybe Bing's doing it right. Maybe they're giving me the results I want, right? So Google's smart. They take the most valuable websites, and that's who gets to rank. And the way you get more value is you put more content, you add more information, and you that's how you start getting your authority up with Google and that trust. And that's when Google starts awarding you those higher rankings on search results.
I'm glad I don't fall into that category. I was having nightmares just now when you were saying you got a terrible website, nothing on it.
We're doing all right. We're actually doing all right.
I wasn't even talking TRC. I know that one's doing really well, but I started to think to myself, man, is he going down this track to try to fuel me up to feed ShawnTiberio.com? What's going on here?
Actually, that one's doing pretty good too. So we're all right. It's basically what we're trying to really drive here is the trend of Google My Business, obviously, because it is a Google asset that you can create. It's very easy. It's free, right? Mm-hmm. This is free, absolutely free. You can go out there, and it has a tremendous impact on your authority with your brand. Why? Because it's a Google asset, right? That's I can't go any further on how important this particular profile is.
Real quick before we wrap it up, I know we spent pretty much this episode, and we wanted to keep it around like, how do I repurpose? Because we hear this a lot from our clients. I don't have the time. I don't have the time. Barely have enough time to even create this one piece of content. Now you're asking me to create it everywhere else, when in reality, they could create one piece and use it everywhere to speed up the process. What are some other things, though, those that are out there listening, watching of the show, what's some other stuff that they could be posting to GMB? Because I know that we could just go create a post. It doesn't have to be a snippet or recap of a blog and drive it over to the blog. There are other things that we could post. What would you say?
Yeah, anything that's going on, guys. Updates. I would focus on updates in your business. For example, we do a lot of stuff in real estate, the trades area. So if you have a project going on and you have a project update, and maybe it's a before and after situation, awesome post for GMB. Awesome post, right? So anything that's happening, maybe you're doing outside of your business, a lot of people get involved, or a lot of businesses get involved with nonprofits. You want to basically put a short post about what you're doing with this nonprofit. So any type of update that you have around your business it's a great post. So just keeping people informed that you're active. At the end of the day, they want to know that you're still in business, right? So any type of updates that you have that might not be a good topic for a full-on blog post, that is when you decide to put it on your GMB. So anything like that in between could be a good topic. So yeah, I mean, it's an endless list, right? And every business is going to be a little different, but I'll keep it very simple so it doesn't get confusing. Outside of your blog post, something that does not fit, maybe a company update, maybe your organization doing something outside of the business. Great blog post or a great post for GMB.
That, my friends, is why he is called the Googanator, and he drops gold bars.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I was able to drop those on there for you. So anything you want to leave them with before we wrap her down?
The only thing I would leave you guys with is get out there, make it happen, take action, guys. Because like I said at the beginning, Shawn said it as well. You can have a website, you can have a Google My Business, you can do the bare minimum that we started the conversation with. But guess what? There was more to this conversation than just creating a website and creating a Google My Business, right? There was action steps that you need to take. So get out there, make it happen, and watch the needle grow. Boom. And I promise you, it will grow.
Absolutely. If you're sitting there going, okay, this kind of makes sense, but I'm still confused. Like, what do I write the blog about? What are the keywords that these guys are talking about? How do I put all of this stuff together? Don't worry. Take a deep breath. Roger and I got you covered. We've gone ahead and put together a 7-step process to get you guys generating leads online. Kind of the quick down and dirty, do these 7 steps in this order, get the ball moving, get some things happening. You can go get access to that free step-by-step video training series at topresultsconsulting.com/7 steps. Just dive right in, start watching, and as Roger said, start taking the action. So for those tuning in live today, thanks for joining us. It was great to have you. If you got any topics that you specifically want us to dive into in a future episode, do not hesitate. Send them over to us. Just ping us over on social media at Top Results Consulting. Let us know what you want to hear about. Roger and I'll bring that to the show on a future episode. It's always been fun every Wednesday. I look forward to these episodes, Roger, getting to hang out with you, chat a little bit of kind of fun topics that we don't always get to dive too deep into with our clients and some of the other stuff, but it's always fun to get into them a little bit here.
Likewise, man.
So for everybody else out there, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. And as we say every week, here's to your success.